Hi, welcome back to Guessagaingaming. So today, if you don't recognise the blood-drenched, blood-rain game I'm in, it's Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr, which is a game I've talked about and played tons on the channel. So I've just finished a kind of difficult mission, and that's the Grand Master I'm with. Me and the Grand Master completed the mission, although I did actually more than him, but there you go. And now we're just left in this blood rain, in this very ornate, it's called the Blood Fort actually, which is kind of apt. But something I wanted to say just as I finish this mission is, and I've been playing on the channel quite a lot of the shooter games recently, Borderlands, Division, Rage 2, so I've played quite a lot, and I think that I can say without any doubt that this is the one I would recommend over all of them. Not that I'm saying it's exactly the best, because a lot of it is about personal taste. So obviously if you want to play a more realistic war kind of game scenario, then the Division is the game for you. And if you want to play a more cartoony kind of game, then Borderlands is the game for you. But in the context of overall package and how it would be if you were a new player to the game, or this kind of game, this is the one I would recommend. Number one, it looks great. I mean, I can't emphasize how good the game looks. The graphics are great. The different areas you go to all look suitably ghastly, and there's suitable amounts of things hanging, and bodies and things made of skulls and slimy things. There's loads of huge variety of enemies, so that's good. It doesn't ever crash. I've never had a crash on this. You don't have to be online to play it. It's got absolutely tons of content which isn't stuck behind extra bits and pieces, or whether you bought season passes. Yeah, I've bought a lot of DLCs for it, but they all came pretty cheap. But there's tons of DLCs for this, and it's a very long game anyway. And the other thing about this game, which is the thing I think overall I would say I would recommend to anybody out of all the games I've mentioned, and probably others in a kind of shooting genre, is it's a very easy to understand and play game. It against all those other games, it's not easy, but if you play it sensibly, you won't get killed for nothing. I think Borderlands, especially the Division, you will die a lot in those games, especially early on. And there's nothing you can do about it, and even if you make slight mistakes you can die. This game is more forgiving. If you want a game where you're really challenged and you're going to die a lot, you can play this on a high level, or you can play the Division. But I think if you, like I'm saying, I'm talking about for someone, which is me, who's not amazingly good at these kind of games, or maybe not as used to these kind of games, and until I played Rage 2 a while back, I'd not played any of these kind of new to shooter games for a long time. And I think it's the one that I would recommend for just fun. You come into it, you don't have to run around lots of places to find different missions or hand in quests, because it's an extraction shooter, and literally in exactly what this is, you go back to your ship, and I will go back to my ship. You go back to your ship and then you drop into missions, so there's no running around or handing in quests. In the context of when you're in a mission, it's all straight in front of you, almost literally. You run around. Yeah, some of the areas are reasonably big, these ships, these forts, these planets, but you never have to run around to look for what to do and where to go. The gameplay and the amount of enemy variety, like I said, is fun, but it's never too much. You've got a big variety of weapons, tons of loot, and you never feel that you're going to die unless you make a stupid mistake or you're overconfident. And that's from someone who, like I said, I'm not the expert on these kind of games at all. I would say this is not a kind of genre I play tons, and it's not something I'm generally fantastically good at, but I found that it's good for me. I found it's really good. I can get through. I think I've only ever been killed at all in this like 2 or 3 times, and that's been because I've been careless. And that was not necessarily at the beginning, because it was more difficult and you need to weapon up or level up. I think the game stays at a good level throughout, where you always feel that you can do the mission and kill the enemies if you play it right. And I think that I like that in the game. That's not to say that there's not things about all the games I've mentioned and other games where there's things about them, but what I'm saying is that if I had to pick one game that I would just play, it would be this one for content, durability because it never crashes, you don't have to be online to play it, and you don't have to overly exert your nervous system to play it because you're not going to die all the time and struggle. So, and this places for games like that, not just shooter games, but I think that it's sometimes nice to have a game of every genre, whether it's a turn-based game, whether it's a RPG, whatever it might be, where you can just go into it, play a kind of game you like, in this case a shooter, where you're not overly punished and you can just have fun. And I think this is that game. Like I said, the setting is great, it's well done, the story is actually very interesting. I would say it's as good a story as any of the games I've mentioned. Certainly it's a better story than Rage 2. It didn't have much of a story. It's a better story than Borderlands, which yeah, and it's probably a more interesting story than The Division. I think it's an interesting story actually. Once you get into it and you go through it, you get more invested. The voice acting is good. It's not tons, but there's the main character you're playing and others you meet, and the voice acting is good. Sounds right for the characters, and it's just fun. And it's fun without the frustration of starting a mission and thinking, oh, it's going to take me hours, or I'm going to get killed over and over again, or I'm going to make one mistake and die. And like I said, that's not what we always want. That's not what I always want. Sometimes I like to go in the Division 2 and play a hard mission and get killed, or hopefully not get killed, but risk losing and having to start again. But it's sometimes nice to have a game where you, like I said, you can just have fun without terrible risk of death or consequences. And that's this game. I think it's a really good game. I think it's really well done. It's really well optimised. I've never had any problems with it at all. It's got tons of content, not just with the DLC, it's just lots of content anyway. It's quite a long game. There's tons of enemy varieties. There's absolutely bags and bags of loot. This is just from the one mission I've just done. This is what I've collected from the one mission I just did. So there's tons and tons and tons of loot. You'll spend all your time selling it, going through. There's loads of modifications you can do and upgrades. And I just think this is a really, really good game. That's not to say the others aren't good games in their own right, but this is the one that I would play for fun, because I want to have fun. I don't want to be over stressed, but I enjoy the kind of game it is. And like I said, I think the story in this game is, at the beginning I was like, it's another one, whatever story, we're going to go and save the world, kill the baddies. But the more I got into the story, the more I've found it interesting. There's quite a few branching little stories as well, and so I think it's a really good game. It's an interesting game. Anyway, thanks for watching Guessagaingaming. Until next time, take care for now.